Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to the IMS and welcome to the IMS Program Advisory Committee, also known as our PAC Workshop. If you can mute your mic, that'll be great. We appreciate it. My name is Joanne Lee. I'm the Graduate Program Assistant for the PhD program, and my colleague Emily is the Graduate Program Assistant for the Master's program. And our graduate coordinators are here joined with us as well, Dr. John Vincent and Dr. Isabella Canisia. So for today's PAC workshop, we're going to be discussing PAC composition, frequency, benefits of holding regular PAC meetings, PAC meeting breakdowns, such as what you need to discuss during your PAC meeting, any paperwork that's involved, and issues with the PAC members. And Emily will be discussing the PAC composition.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Welcome. So hopefully you have some idea of what a PAC should sort of look like. If you've read the website or talked to your supervisor already about assembling a program advisory committee. But basically what you want to sort of have is you want to have additional members aside from your supervisor who can offer you insight and expertise into the research project that you're working on that you can't necessarily get either in your lab or from your supervisor, because a specific area is a little bit different than their area of expertise or part of their research. So you want to sort of discuss with your supervisor like who you want on your PAC. Your supervisor might have suggestions already for you, or you might come to your supervisor with suggestions about additional faculty members. But so you want to make sure that with your PAC, you want to have at least 3 members, so including your supervisor. We sort of recommend 4. But you need a minimum of 3 to meet quorum to have your PAC meetings, like your official PAC meetings, count as actual official PAC meetings. So it's minimum of 3, so including your supervisor, so your supervisor and 2 additional people. What you want to make sure is they're depending on your research topic, like we do sort of recommend that there's like a mix of either clinicians or scientists, sort of based on their availability, because, you know, make sure you sort of have a list involved. And even if you ask, unfortunately, not always everyone, your first choice is available. So just because of time and scheduling and stuff like that. So just in case, have like a backup of a couple of other a couple other PAC members you have in mind. And one of the things to note is that the people that you're looking for your PAC to serve on your PAC need to have a graduate faculty membership or graduate faculty appointment with the School of Graduate Studies. So it's just sort of like another tier or another level of employment at U of T. So like not every professor or not every faculty member has a graduate faculty appointment. So you need to make sure that they have one. It doesn't necessarily, it can be from any department within U of T. It doesn't necessarily have to be from the Institute of Medical Science. It could be from anywhere. It could be from the Department of Music. It could be the Department of Philosophy. It can be like, they could be a statistician, but they need to have a graduate faculty appointment. And you can check here, I'll leave the link in the chat. You can check. SGS, School of Graduate Studies, does have a list of all of their active graduate faculty members. They do only update every 2 to 3 times a year, so it's not an exhaustive list, but it's pretty exacting in terms of generalized lists go. So if you're sort of looking for somebody outside of general field of expertise, you can go and check that. Let's see. So another thing is that, as I mentioned, they also need to, so you can't have an official PAC member who's not, who doesn't have a graduate faculty membership or is not from you. When you're holding like PAC meetings, official PAC meetings are, as School of Graduate Studies does consider them to be closed exams. So you can only have your approved PAC members on when you're doing a PAC meeting for it to count as an official PAC meeting. So only those 3 members or 4 members or whatever could be there. Okay, next slide, Joanne. Okay, so how often should you have a PAC meeting? So ideally you want to have a PAC meeting every 6 months. Every 6 to 8 months is fine to sort of remain in good academic standing. So you also want to make sure if PAC members, like a proposed PAC member is only available maybe once a year, maybe consider somebody else. And so for, I think most of you are master's students, so you do need to have a minimum of 4 official PAC meetings throughout the course of your program of study, at every 6 to 8 month intervals. And, you want to try and set, when you finish one PAC meeting, ideally you sort of want to have a general time frame in mind for the next PAC meeting rather than waiting for the report or waiting for any additional results that your PAC members might have. And those who are considering either qualifying exams or transfer exams, so holding a transfer exam or a qualifying exam doesn't count as a PAC. So for those of you who are currently in the master's program and thinking about transferring into the PhD program, you should ideally have 2 PAC meetings before the transfer exam. So the transfer exam doesn't count. So like 1 in a transfer doesn't count. It's usually 2 in a transfer that counts. Okay, next slide. Okay, why are PACs important? Well, so I mean, they're good because it sort of helps us to gauge your progress, how you're doing in the program. If you need additional help or support, it sort of pushes you along in terms of your research, so you can sort of stay on track and graduate on time. But also they do provide you with advice on your research and experimental designs. They can sort of help troubleshoot with any issues. If you're, if things are going slowly or if they're not going as planned, they can sort of help steer you in the right direction. They can, if you're considering doing a transfer or you're considering going on to a PhD, they can sort of help prepare you for your readiness with that sort of thing. And particularly if your PAC member is sort of outside of the Institute of Medical Science or in a different field from your supervisor, they can also be an additional resource to offer for, for scholarships and awards and stuff like that, that might be applicable to you, but that your supervisor and additional PAC members might not know about. So that's why holding regular PAC meetings are good, so you can stay informed. Oh, another thing to note, you can also, you can meet unofficially with your PAC members separately as often as you like or as often as they are available. I mean, let your supervisor know, but you could sort of reach out to them one-on-one, that sort of thing. You don't need to wait for an official PAC meeting to be able to talk. So, yeah. Okay, I will take it over to Joanne.
Thank you. So for the PAC meeting breakdown, it is students' responsibility to set up the PAC meetings. So discuss with your supervisor for your PAC members' availabilities. Use a platform like Doodle to schedule and suitable time for your PAC members. And you should allow minimum 2 hours for a meeting. It could be longer depending on your progress stage and or if the depends on how many members are present at the meeting. Make sure that you send out reminders before the meeting with the date, time, and location. An important note, send out a PAC research report a week before the meeting. And there's a template that you can download on our website. The report is basically a summary of your research progress, concerns, and your research plans for the future. Since a lot of our faculty members are sitting on multiple students' PAC meetings, This helps them to be reminded of your research progress. Then after that, bring the PAC forms. It's a PDF file that you can download on our website. I'll show you the forms in a minute. And during the PAC meeting, it's basically a 20-minute presentation. You'll introduce your research, concept, and results. Talk to your supervisor regarding more details about the presentation. And after that, you'll have a question period where you can get their feedback and their comments. So the PAC meetings should be honest and an evaluation of the student based on their progress and general knowledge. So some of the paper works that are involved is that each PAC meeting generates a written and signed report evaluating the student's progress with recommendations. The outcome of the advisory committee meeting is an academic decision and it cannot be appealed. So you need to complete PAC forms and submit the same related minutes as a PDF to Emily if you are a master's student and to myself if you are a PhD student within 2 weeks of each meeting. The subject line of the email should be next committee meeting, October 30th, 2022 at 2 p.m. or whatever date that you agreed upon. The PAC forms will be approved by IMS, and IMS will review the PAC forms, and we will take steps to ensure that students stay on track. So this is a PAC approval form that you need to fill out before you have your first PAC meeting. IMS will review it and let you know if the PAC members are approved or not. And this is the PAC report. So you'll fill this out with your supervisor and your PAC members. And at the end of the form, there's a section where all PAC members need to sign. So keep in mind that your first meeting must take place within the first 6 months after admission. So it'll be by February of next year for September entry students. And for June for January entry students. And issues with PAC. So sometimes issues might arise with the PAC members. For instance, not enough members are attending. So remember that you and your supervisor and 2 other PAC members must attend the meeting. Otherwise, the meeting will be canceled. And sometimes your PAC member might have a limited expertise in your research area. So before choosing your PAC member, please consult with your supervisor and they can be able to guide you on choosing the right PAC member. And limited availability. So you'll have to make sure that your PAC members are able to commit to your PAC meetings every 6 months. And in order to choose a suitable time, again, you can use a platform like Doodle to coordinate their schedule. And conflict with the committee members or with your supervisor. So try to resolve it with your supervisor first, but if you need any advice or extra help, feel free to contact our graduate coordinators, Dr. John Vincent and Dr. Isabella Canija. They have a virtual office hour every Fridays from 11:30 to 12:30. And it's a drop-in Zoom session, so you can come and talk to us. And if your research is going to a different direction and that you feel that you want to work with the specific faculty member, you can always add more PAC member or remove PAC member. But before that, please discuss with your supervisor first and our graduate coordinators. And once it's approved by your supervisor, you will send us a new PAC approval form. And IMS will review it again, and we'll let you know if the members are approved or not. And that's about it for our presentation. Sorry. I know it was a short presentation, but I'm sure you have a lot of questions regarding your specific cases. So feel free to unmute and ask your questions, or you can raise your hand.
So put your, I put them in the chat, or like raise your hand so that we can see. Yeah, Nikki.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. I had a question about the PAC report. Is that meant to do during the meeting or after?
Yeah, I just responded in the chat, but ideally,
Oh,
what
I'm so sorry.
wanted, yeah, that's okay. I'll respond because I'm sure everybody else has left. You know, you're not the only one. Yeah. So ideally, what you want to do is like just before like your meeting, I don't know, a couple of days before, or just before, send a blank PAC report form to your to your committee members, and then they should be doing it either like sort of as the meeting goes on, or like or just after, or you know, that sort of thing. So
thank you.
Yeah.
So typically, one of the committee members, and ideally not your supervisor, will be the chair of the meeting, and if possible, try and keep that consistent between your meetings, and have the chair fill out the forms as you go along, or at the end of the meeting, the PAC members will kind of boot you from the room and discuss your progress. And following that, then you will get a chance to discuss with your PAC members without your supervisor, and you can also go through the comments, the PAC members' comments with your supervisor, and then you sign off at the end as well.
I just want to add, I think that John captured a lot in the answer. Now we have been in this sort of, let's call it post-pandemic era and pandemic era. So lots of committee meeting or PAC meeting occur on Zoom. Some have resumed in person. So for the one in person, that was the canonical thing. The form is there, it gets filled up there, everybody signs there. The student then can discuss with the supervisor, and the supervisor has to step out, and the student can discuss with the PAC. Sort of appraisal of the supervisor. And now the thing in Zoom, the PAC in Zoom are done that the student goes in sort of in a waiting room during the time the PAC outcome is discussed. The PAC report should be filled at that time. And that's why it is important to have a chair, not to have it in the drawer of your supervisor for 2 months. It should be done ASAP. And then typically what the supervisor does after ticks all the boxes with the various consensus, it sends the PDF to the other PAC committee member who they input their signature. So this thing should be happening in a very relatively fast manner via email, if that happens in Zoom. But it's not advised to wait for a week or two. And all the information should be gathered right away.
Hannah, you had your hand up?
Hi.
Sorry.
No worries. Thank you so much for the presentation. So I just had a quick question about quorum.
Mm-hmm.
So it was mentioned that 3 members is quorum for the PAC meeting. So that's the supervisor plus 2 other members, I'm assuming.
Yep.
So 2 other faculty members. And it was recommended that there's 4 members on the PAC.
Mm-hmm.
So if, let's say you have 4 members and only 3 are able to make it, that's quorum, right? Like if one person isn't able to make it, then that's fine. It's just so it's like for ease of rotation, I'm assuming.
It's not, well, ideally you want everybody to show up.
Of course.
So, you know, you don't want, it's not an alternate sort of a situation.
No, of course.
But the idea is that, you know, to have 4 is so that you have like a more nuanced form of discussion. You know, if you have three, what can happen, not always, but what can happen is that, you know, your supervisor, you know, and then, you know, you get somebody else, and then if somebody else sort of feels like, you know, a bit ganged up on, sort of a thing. Ideally you do, you know, so if you sort of have four, it leads to a bit more of a robust discussion or about your topic and about your research and stuff like that, which is sort of ideally what, you know, what you want.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. So it's not like, the idea is not to have four just so that you never use the fourth one.
I know, of course.
You know, you want everybody to show up, but for quorum, it is three. Obviously things come up, particularly if you're dealing with clinician scientists, or if you have a, you know, a surgical fellow or something like that, and, you know, they have to go and do some surgery. They can't show up to your PAC meeting. It's, you know, it's good to have just.
I would also recommend to have four, although the quorum is perfectly fine, and particularly also for master student, or if you don't find an expert. And I would advise the first PAC to have everybody present, because it's the first PAC. So it is important in the sense that the project will be outlined, like, you know, you get to know your member. There are circumstances in which the third or the second, the third PAC, one member is not available, and the student and the supervisor want to have the PAC, and the PAC is needed. So you can have the PAC. Another thing that you can do, you can arrange for a separate meeting at a different time with a PAC member that has not been able to attend that specific meeting. And then the PAC member can also sign the form after, or provide the comment in a manner that the supervisor, you, and all the rest of the people will have. So this also verify, we don't recommend it, but in certain circumstances. But the important thing is that if you don't have three individuals, you don't have a quorum, and you won't be able to have your PAC that day.
Sure. Thank you so much.
One of the things I'm seeing in the comments, okay, so you need to submit a PAC approval, and also that I forgot to mention, you need to submit a PAC approval form first before you hold your first PAC meeting, because we need to know who are the members of your PAC, and we need to check to make sure that they meet arm's length criteria and that they do actually have an active graduate faculty membership appointment. And so you need to submit them, if you're a master's student, to me, or if you're a PhD student, to Joanne. Ideally, we sort of want them by like December 1st, or like the first week of December, the PAC approval forms, so that, you know, we can check them, we can let you know that they're good to go. And then, so generally you want to hold your first PAC meeting. If it's 6 months into the program, you're looking at like February is when you would hold your first PAC meeting, and then you would have that PAC report form. It's usually the timeline of events for all of you September entry students. Yeah, Kaylee.
Yeah, hi. I asked this in the chat, but I'll just ask it here. In my specific instance, my proposed co-supervisor does not have an IMS appointment yet, and she's in the process of it. I'm just wondering how hard it is, or if it's possible to add them as a member and then like upgrade them to a co-supervisor down the line.
Yeah, so this goes to you, and I guess to anybody who has PAC member changes. So yeah, if they have a current graduate faculty appointment somewhere at U of T, so I don't know, they have one at psych and psychiatry, then yeah, you can for the time being, you can add them as a regular PAC member, and then if they are in the process of applying for an IMS faculty appointment, they would, you know, I think the committee for appointments, for faculty appointments, is first week of November. So then any changes that you would make for you or for anyone in general. Like if you're adding a PAC member or you're removing a PAC member, then you would need to do an updated PAC approval form. So in your case, because you're depending, you can submit a PAC approval form as it stands now, and then like submit one with the changes, or hold off until right before December and submit only one PAC approval form then. So depending on the results.
Yeah, they have a faculty membership meeting. They just had one in October, first week of October, and the
Oh,
next,
it already happened. Okay.
yeah, next year of January. So by then they'll have a updated membership.
Can I just reply to Sufyan's comment, because I think it might be useful for others. Sufyan asks if non-PAC members can attend the PAC meeting, and the answer is no. It's a University of Toronto exam, so it's a closed meeting.
Just to add to what John said, you can have like collaborators that are non-U of T faculty members or non-graduate faculty members, or who are not from U of T. They could be like from Queens or something like that, but they can't be. And you can, and if they're willing to sort of collaborate with you on your project or offer you advice or whatever, sure, you can have them. But for PAC meetings, no, they have to have a graduate faculty membership appointment from the School of Graduate Studies for them to be added to your PAC. And non PAC members, non-official PAC members cannot attend official PAC meetings.
So as an example, one of my students has an advisor from University of Victoria. So we kind of duplicate the PAC meeting, just to update the collaborator roughly the same time, but that collaborator cannot attend the PAC meeting.
Are there any other new questions on the chat?
I think I'm answering one in the chat. So someone asked about PAC report forms. So how many are there? So for each, there's one form, and then usually it's who completes it during the PAC meeting. It's usually I think as John mentioned, it's usually the chair who fills out the form, and then it sort of gets passed around for signature to the varying PAC members, and then ultimately to the student who looks at it and then signs off on it before sending it to either Joanne or myself.
There was one question. How long does the PAC member approval generally takes? It normally takes 2 weeks, but
yeah,
we'll get back to you within about a week. So.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If everything is all honky-dory and everybody has an active graduate faculty membership, you send it to Joanne or I, depending on the day, within the week. It's usually the hang up is usually if a graduate faculty membership appointment has expired and we have to reach out to the other department, or or something like that. That's usually where the hang up lies, or there's or there's an obvious conflict between your supervisor and 2 or more proposed PAC members. That's usually, again, where the delays lie. But Joanne and I try and be pretty quick with that sort of stuff. Oh, someone asked about specific requirements. So there's no specific requirements for the chair. It's just sort of designated, you could be the chair. But just as long as it's not the supervisor, then it doesn't really matter who it is. Someone might want to do it because they like being organized with paperwork.
So the committee will hopefully discuss amongst themselves who wants to take that chair role.
And also there's someone who asked about items to cover during the first meeting. It's okay if you don't have a whole lot of stuff to discuss in your first meeting because you're just starting out. That's fine. You know, present them what you have.
It's more about direction, you know, and methodology at that
Go.
point.
Yep. You decide the chair during the first PAC meeting, or does the role need to be designated prior? I think it doesn't matter. You can decide on during the first meeting.
Mhm.
So someone's asking what the role of the chair is. So it's basically just sort of like they sort of take charge, I guess, of the meeting. So it's, you know, making sure that your sort of presentation doesn't go on too long. Usually it's 20 minutes. So make sure it doesn't go on any longer beyond that. And sort of filling out the form, and sort of, you know, do you have questions? Do you have questions? That sort of thing. We sort of like run the show during the PAC meeting.
It's also that the chair, like, you know, when the PAC committee member meet and the supervisor and the candidate gets out, like, you know, the chair gets a little bit the comment that comes around, for instance, related to the specific project, like, you know, there is this direction, this sort of experiment that could be done, or this analysis, and then the chair kind of takes the notes, and also the supervisor throughout the PAC. The student is busy to present. Like for my student, because it's not a final defense, it's recommended to practice the sort of the 20 minutes, because at the end of the day, when all of you will graduate, will have a 20-minute presentation, but sometimes there are different style. Like the presentation can be a little bit longer because the student has to present lots of data, particularly second and third PAC, or the formula can be that the PAC can interrupt, can be very engaging and together with the student and the supervisor. But the chair doesn't really have, it has to capture the essence together with the supervisor of what was brought up during the PAC, and then put it in, because beside ranking the student, the general knowledge, the specific knowledge, ethical attitude, and many various things that you see in the form, at the end there is a box where there are comments. So the suggestion will be extrapolated coming from the conversation, and then will be imported into that part by the chair. So we want to make sure that the supervisor doesn't particularly interfere and put his own comment, and the comment will be discussed also with the student after. So it's very open.
There was another question. Is there any way to include a PAC member from different university from abroad? The answer is no. As we mentioned again, all PAC members need to have SGS appointment, School of Graduate Studies appointment. But you can meet with—
That could be a collaborator.
Yes. You can meet with them
advisor.
outside of your PAC meeting and just discuss your project with them, but not as a PAC member.
Also, Melissa's question about whether having a co-supervisor from IHPME could help access courses, IHPME courses that are otherwise unavailable. That's a tricky one. I think officially the answer is no, but
no, because because PAC members like don't really like that sort of part of your, you know, being able to have access to courses from a different department is usually, you know, you're sort of beholden to that other department. So even if you have a PAC member, even if they're a co-supervisor from another department, it doesn't really sort of help you get an in, so to speak, from the other department. You still sort of have to follow their rules when it comes to classes.
But they might be able to advise you on alternative courses or alternative seminar series that would be valuable. So it's may still be useful.
Can PAC members provide letters of recommendation? Sure. They can also say no, but yet they can also ask.
Yeah, hopefully you'll build up a rapport with your PAC members, and they'll be useful people that you can turn to for advice in terms of methodology, writing, and future career goals. They're kind of mentors as well.
So I think Elsa asked that the chair mainly serves as a moderator for the meetings. Yeah. I mean, they also vote and give you feedback and stuff like that. They don't just sort of sit around and tell everybody else what to do. Hopefully they have something else, tangible to say in terms of your research, but yes.
The presentation
slide. Sorry, go ahead,
Yeah.
Joanne.
The presentation slide will not be shared, but if you go to our website, I'll just type it in the chat again. Everything's there on our website, but then the recording will be shared on YouTube.
Yes, I mean, then the recording will also have the slides. So, I mean, you can pause and, jot down the slides. Any other questions? No? Oh, yes. Are we to be contacting the prospective PAC members directly and asking them whether or not they're interested in acting as a member, or is the application forms? Yeah, so the approval form is for us. It's for admin, so we have a record of who your PAC is. But yeah, either you or your supervisor should be reaching out to prospective members. And don't use the form because it might get confused.
Any other questions?
So another chair question. We recommend, it's not a hard and fast rule, but we recommend that the chair sort of stays consistent from PAC meeting to PAC meeting. But if your chair is unable to make it, but you still have quorum, obviously, then you can default the chair position to that other person. And there doesn't need to be, you don't need to let us know that for this PAC meeting that, you just carry on with it. But ideally you want to have some sort of consistency. So it's best if they sort of.
But no hard and fast rule there.
Yeah. Yeah, if if one person changes from the chair role from one meeting to the next for whatever reason, we don't need another PAC approval form for that sort of minute change. It's really only initially so that we know who's on your PAC so that we can approve it or not approve it or whatever. And if there's any additional changes, like removing or adding a member as time goes on, that we need an additional PAC approval form.
Okay, I think that's about it.